Women are not built to box.
It felt like the bell was never coming. Like seriously.
Excuse me, but
yeah, I'm like, can we get a time check? Like,
because
when are we done?
This has been like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Like, did you forget? Did we start the timer? Did you go to the bathroom? Like, where is the guy to tell me that I'm done?
That would have been me.
Like, I think I heard a bell. She's like, bitch,
that was
no,
just
you
ringing
didn't.
in your fucking head.
Exactly. So I think that was probably just the hardest thing, was just these 3 minutes of just intensity, just like relentless, boom, 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 time after time after time,
oh
for
my God,
3
girl,
rounds.
I don't know how you did it. What's up, everyone, and welcome to Go Figure, the podcast where we cut the fluff, get real, and dive into everything fitness, health, and life. I'm Lori Fetrick, former American Gladiator Ice.
And I'm Ashley Randall, certified trainer, wellness coach, and your go-to for keeping it real about living your best life.
Here on Go Figure, we're busting myths, sharing truths, and having the conversations that make you stop and say, Go Figure.
From fitness fads to mindset shifts and everything in between, we're here for the stuff you didn't know you needed to hear.
Crushing it, stuck in a rut, or just trying to keep it together, we've been there.
So get ready to laugh, learn, and level up. This is Go Figure. Let's do this.
Welcome to Go Figure, a new podcast series here on Chillin' with Ice. This podcast is where fitness, wellness, and real talk collide. I'm your host, Lori Fetrick, along with the incredible Ashley Randall. Are you ready to be interviewed on your football and boxing experience?
I'm ready.
We just kind of skimmed over it when the very first time I interviewed you, and you were like, yeah, I did boxing, yeah, I did football. I was like, yeah, we'll talk about that later. But holy shit, you actually were training to be a boxer.
Yeah.
Or wait, was it a boxer or MMA?
Boxer. I wanted to do well, that was my intro, was amateur boxing.
Amateur boxing.
Yeah.
Okay, so were you not afraid of like hurting your face? And I mean, you have a pretty face. I mean, most women that box don't really have pretty faces because they don't really give a shit. But
Correct.
I mean, weren't you kind of like concerned?
Okay, I have this weird thing where I wasn't concerned. Also, there's like this, I'm sure we can break this down, but there was this part of me that was like, I think it'd be cool to be like a cute, pretty face and then also have a black eye. I know that's like fucked up. I know maybe there's something wrong with me, clearly. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I didn't want my nose to be like all busted and like gross and broken.
Yeah, but that's usually the first thing that goes.
Correct.
Is the nose.
Correct.
It's not the black eye. Now, I'll go with you on the pretty face. I always thought it was really cool if somebody, and usually I've seen it on girls, if they have like a scar across their eyebrow. I think it's really fucking sexy. And come to find out, you know what that is from?
What?
It's not a scar.
Oh.
It's when they put a fucking ring in their eyebrow, and it just like either they shave off a little bit of the hair there.
Okay, got it.
For the eyebrows. So of course I always thought it was a scar.
You're like, oh, she got sliced. And
Exactly.
Like, no,
Ooh, that's kind of hot and
She's
sexy.
like, I just had an
No,
earring.
it's just an earring.
Well,
so
fail.
what's the black eye thing? I mean, is this like,
I don't know. I just felt like it was like
I was hit
almost
and
like
survived?
Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, where you're just like, oh, she's so cute and pretty, but like, damn, that chick, like, yeah, like I could take a punch.
Did it make you feel like a badass kind of?
Well, I did end up getting one, ironically enough, which black eyes actually are harder to get because to your point, like it usually you're going to get punched in the face, like in the nose, you might get like a fat lip, but like to get hit in the like bright spot, like in your cheek, or like they call them like a little mouse, like if you get like kind of in the inner eye sometimes, depending. I did end up getting one. And
was
also
it
it's
as
harder
hot and
too.
sexy as you thought it was?
I don't know. I mean, I will say this. It was the perfect black eye because nothing happened to my eyeball. Like I never wanted to have like, bloodshot eye. I just wanted to have like a little bit. But I was ironically enough going to Vegas that weekend. So here I am like, in this whole like to-do outfit. And then I'm like, oh, I have a black eye. And like we're going to the club. And they're probably like, what is
Everybody's
this chick?
like, what?
Yeah,
Where's her boyfriend? No wonder she must have 86'd him after he punched her.
Yes.
Because nobody thinks of a woman having a black eye because she's an amateur boxer.
Correct. And maybe that was the appeal. Was like I felt empowered in it. I didn't feel like this frail person. I was like, I'm strong, I'm this, and I have versus like the alternative maybe where you're like, someone like beat me up. So it felt and also I mean I wore headgear a lot too when I trained. So it I'm obviously very safe wearing headgear, wearing a mouthpiece, all of those things.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's get into the underlining here, because you just mentioned it, and that was you felt empowered and you felt strong and you felt powerful.
Loved it.
And nowadays, I say nowadays because of the fact that women weren't boxing. How long ago do you think it started? Women started actually boxing.
Oh my gosh, I have no idea. Jeff has to look it up and tell us.
Jeff, that's
but
your
yeah,
job right now.
I have no idea. This was 10 years ago for me.
Okay.
Over 10 years ago. So, I mean, this kind of fell into my lap.
In the 1720s.
No
Okay,
way.
So we're way off base here.
Wow.
1720s.
But when did it become really popular in the States?
1997.
1997. Okay, that makes more sense.
So, yeah.
Became more of a serious consideration in the 2010s.
Okay.
So that's what's kind of cool about it, though, because women now, we have come so far in, the powerful and the empowering of women to where, yeah, you can do whatever you want. You can be an amateur boxer.
Yeah.
You can play football. We're going to talk about that. There's so many things that you can do and not be afraid of,
For
oh,
sure.
I'm a woman, I can't do that. You can
For
still
sure.
be feminine and sexy and powerful and still kick some ass. And that's what's so appealing about it now. But, okay, so I guess my first question is did somebody approach you to become an amateur boxer, or was this you woke up one morning and you go, I want to box?
No, definitely not the second one. Definitely not. So back when I lived in San Diego, we had, it was like industry boxing was this thing. And they were doing the first year of it. They were like, okay, we're going to get people, local celebrities, we'll just say, that are not celebrities, but like that are in the industry. I had been in the bartending industry. I had been in the nightlife. So when you're kind of in that industry, like you all run together, everyone knows each other.
Right.
And so they were like, okay, let's make an industry boxing night where other people from the industry want to come out and kind of see. Or maybe if you have beef with someone from the industry, it can be like, oh, this bar's, so-and-so is going to like fight this bar's,
my
bar
God.
back. Yeah. So
instead of let's take it outside, let's take it to the ring.
Yeah, exactly. So somehow it got approached to me. I don't even remember how it got approached to me. Because the guy who owned the bar that I worked at, he did, like, that was his workout of choice, was boxing. And so Merritt was training, and somehow it like got looped in. He heard about it from whatever, and he was like, oh, probably thinking like, oh, Ashley's crazy enough, like she'll do this. And he obviously wanted someone from his bar to represent it.
Right.
And so I was like, yeah, cool, like, sure, why not? Like, I'll do this. That sounds fun. Lori, it was the hardest, I will say one of the hardest things probably that I've ever done in my life.
No doubt.
Like,
I agree.
to go from not knowing a skill, and this isn't just like, hey, you have to get better at this. It is also, hey, get better at this while someone is repeatedly hurting you and punching you in the face.
Yes.
So it's not like maybe like a soccer drill where you're like, hey, or like a volleyball drill where it's like, damn, I just can't get it over the net, and you can just keep practicing that. Yeah. It's like, hey, I can't figure out how to move my body. Oh, and I'm also getting punched in the ribs or in the face while that. And you're like,
so
oh
you're
my
like,
gosh.
Wait, I got to duck, and then after I duck, I got to come up with an uppercut.
And I also have to hit you back.
Right.
You can't just run away from them. So like your also natural reaction would be like, you're hurting me, let me go. No.
That would be me.
Yeah, no.
You'd go to punch me, and all of a sudden you'd see me running around the ring from you, and you'd stand there and go, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'd be like this, don't hit me again.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, but you're in here. Yeah, it's like this whole code of like ethics too, even, that you have to kind of learn in the beginning, like, hey, we both are mutually agreeing that like we're coming in here out of respect, but like to fuck each other up. It's like this weird thing where it's like, I know you're coming in here to hurt me. I'm coming in here to hurt you, but with some respect, I guess, to the art form, where you're not just like, I don't know. It's weird.
So was it deep down kind of like, did you have any anger issues that you wanted to get out in the ring, or was it purely sport?
For me, it was purely sport. And it's interesting you asked that, because that's one of the things that's really actually hard to manage in the sport is maybe you don't have anger that day, but like, again, we'll use the example. Like if someone's punching you, you're now getting frustrated and irritated at them, but responding to that with aggression, as weird as that sounds, like that doesn't do you any good. So like, if Bob's punching me in the face and I'm like, oh, fuck you, Bob. Like now I really just want to hurt you. Well, there's no like skill to that.
Yeah.
You still have to be able to stay calm enough and read Bob and be like, okay, wow, Bob likes to punch with his right arm or her right arm. I need to, I need to figure
that.
Right. You can't just be like, ah, and like brawl, because.
And that is a brawl.
That is a brawl. And that's not like the point, I guess, if you will, of it. But yeah, the training was so hard. I mean, I was
3-minute rounds are insane. People don't realize how long 3 minutes can be when you're doing nothing but throwing punches for
Correct.
3 minutes straight. Try it at the gym. Just try it on a heavy bag for
Yes.
3 minutes and tell me how long you go.
Yeah. And
I
that's not
died.
with anybody hitting you in the face. That's
Right.
just you trying to punch something and breathe and keep, yeah.
And usually that's punching something as I want to say, okay, maybe I'm wrong here, because my first thought is when you want to punch with skill, but you want to punch also as hard as you can, kind of with
Yeah.
skill. So you're not just tapping the bag like if you were at a gym. That's what I meant by
Yes.
that.
Yes.
You want to put some force behind it, and that force takes energy.
Yes.
Every single hit.
Yes. It does. It takes energy every single hit. It takes proper form.
Mm-hmm.
Again, to your point, you know, when you're on a bag, you can stand with your feet square, and it's fine if your feet are flat and you're just
You're not dancing. Yeah.
right. But if you are now trying to get in your stance, if you're trying to maneuver, if they call them like pushing punches
Mm-hmm.
versus like, you know, like a snapping punch. So if you're punching, which is hard to show with my mic, but like if you're punching and you're just like pushing with your whole body, like there's no power in that because
Right.
you're kind of just lunging forward. You're not fully extending, but like your hip and everything is like whipping and rotating. Like really, like when you throw that punch, it should almost like recoil.
Yeah.
And that's where the power comes from. But yeah, that's hard to do when you start to get exhausted or to hold your arms
Yeah.
up, or you're like,
That's why you always hear them going, "Get your hands up, because your arms are
Yes,
exhausted."
Correct.
You know,
Or
between
you don't want to get your
punches.
hands up because you're like, wait, I think they're going to hit a body shot. So then you're trying to like kind of crunch your
Yeah.
core and like keep your, it's,
And what's funny about you is you don't come across to me like cray cray
that's good.
yet.
out.
I will say this: one of my best friends, Shannon, she actually was a professional boxer,
Okay.
and now she trains people. Yeah, Shannon, I'm saying it right now. You're a little nuts. You're
Shannon,
cray cray.
you're a little cuckoo.
She is, and she used to brawl with the guys like in the streets, fist fight. She would brawl with her boyfriends, fist
Yeah,
fight.
no.
So when she got into the ring, it was natural
Yeah.
for her.
Yeah.
She was just all like, she would just lose it here and just go into beast mode.
Okay.
You know,
See, yeah,
but
I never
you don't
had that.
I don't see that in you.
Yeah. It would be hard for me to maybe try to channel that now. I mean, I definitely do take on a little bit of a different persona when I go into the ring, or at least when I did. Mm-hmm. It'll
would
humble
have
you.
to.
Yeah, it'll humble you real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I kind of like told you the story a little bit, but a quick way, and I sparred with guys and girls.
Oh, tell the story that you told me in Vegas about like literally you got hit so hard you were peeing blood the next
Oh my
day.
gosh, yes, that's right.
And you had no idea until the
idea.
next day.
Correct. I was not on my period. Yeah, I had, so that was a trick that was kind of told to me by one of my coaches, was when you are sparring with guys, sometimes with girls, but usually with guys, when, you know, guys, it's not like acceptable, you know, to like tee off on a girl's face, like just start punching her.
Right.
So guys will usually do the shadier thing, which is like drop you with a body shot, you know, hit you there, especially when you're doing Muay Thai, which I later transitioned to. You know, they'll kick you really hard, like in the leg or something, where it's like, oh, what? I didn't hit her. And you're like, motherfucker, you just freaking broke my tibia. Like, yeah, I
Right.
think you hit me. So yeah, when we were sparring one day, and we would do this thing as my fight got closer. Also, I trained in a very condensed time frame. So I'm trying to like, I mean, that would be like learning how to play volleyball and then having like a championship game within like less than 3 months.
Yeah.
Like that would be insane.
Yeah.
But I guess even that's different because this is all
But
me.
you're Ashley, you can do it.
Well, 10 years ago, Ashley could. I don't know about now. But so, I mean, I was having to learn the skill, get the stamina, to your point, to be able to handle the rounds and also, you know, have some technique. So it's like, how am I doing all this and applying? So the best way that they figured for me to do that was to just spar a ton, because they're like, that's the closest practical application rather than just hitting a bag or hitting mitts. Like, so
Right.
in any case, I would spar guys and girls, and we would do this thing called round robin, where you get tired, but a fresh person comes in every time. Yes, exactly. So you might have been going for 15 minutes, but that person's fresh. They're not tired. So in any case, I got a guy that came in. We were going. It must have been a little bit earlier in my rounds. And I must have caught him. I don't even remember where I hit him, but I think I caught him pretty good in the face. And he hit me so hard in the body that I dropped to the ground, and I was like, okay, I'm not like out of breath. Like he didn't knock the wind out of me, but like I thought I was gonna throw up, and I just remember like falling down. You know, everyone's like, the coaches are like, get up, get up. You don't have. I'm like, okay, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. And so I had to actually get out of the ring for a second, which I usually tried really hard not to do. And I went in the bathroom and I was like, I think I'm gonna throw up. Like
Wow,
this is
is
a
that
weird
bad?
feeling. Because I could still breathe.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I was trying to like assess this. I'm like, I don't know. And then, you know, whatever. I think I did another like half round, something like that. I went home that night. I felt nauseous like the whole rest of the night. And then that next morning I got up and I peed and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, well, I'm not on my period. That's really strange. And then I ended
not
up,
good.
yeah, I was like, I don't know if that's supposed to happen. And so then I ended up telling my coach, and he was like, oh, he's like, yeah, he probably just dropped you with a kidney shot and like just hit you that hard. I'm like, awesome.
I
Like,
mean, think about that.
not
Somebody
good.
had to hit you hard enough to where actually
Yeah.
you pee blood.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of scary. I think
It
that's
is
when I would have
scary.
quit.
It is scary. I mean, also I was probably almost 20 pounds less than I weigh now. I
Oh,
mean, I was
shit.
tiny. I think I fought at like 125.
Wow.
I mean, I was like a tiny
Yeah.
little bean. Yeah. So, I mean, it didn't take much. I mean, there wasn't as
Yeah.
much on me to protect. But yeah, I mean, it was
Now
definitely.
you're tall though. You got to reach.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a
Yes.
good thing in your advantage
It
right
is.
there when it comes to boxing.
And that's kind of one of the things they sold me on. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, you have a long reach. And I'm like, okay, I don't know how to use it, but cool. Like, I have a long reach.
so tell me how long this boxing career lasted.
So I ended up taking 2 fights. So I did that first fight. Oh, and that, I mean, again, the whole debacle. The girl that I was supposed to fight ended up backing out last minute because girls just do that.
Oh, yeah.
People do. But so she backed out. So there was supposed to be 2 female fights on that card. And my girl backed out. And I think the actually other girl backed out. She must have. So then they gave us the option of fighting each other, except the girl that I ended up fighting, she was in a completely different weight class.
Oh.
She, I think, had like 15 pounds on me.
And that's a lot in boxing.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you have kind of diet, you know, you're like in this skinny,
Yeah.
like fatigued place. And I think she actually had to cut weight. So I think she probably walked around more at like a 150.
Damn.
But both of us were like, dude, we've worked really hard for this. Like
just go
we
for
have
it.
really been training hard. Like this sucks. Let's do it. And so we both kind of like agreed we would do it. Yeah, she like ran through me. Wow. I mean, I did not win that fight at
How
all.
did you feel when, I mean, literally, let's go here for a second. If you can take yourself back for
Yeah.
a minute. How did it feel when she really, like the very first, and you felt the solid fucking power behind her hit you?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know where my head would have went. I just went like, oh shit.
It's kind of one of those things where you're prepared for it. Like you've felt it before because obviously I have been punched by guys before. So like it's just a different type of a power. But you're also in this crazy, I mean, I'm sure you can probably completely relate. Like you're in this crazy arena where, I mean, we literally were in a nightclub that they had just gutted out and they
people were
put
cheering and-
they've
yeah.
put a ring in there. The music's blaring, but you've got these sanctioned refs that are in there. So it's like, is serious. But then you're like, wait, there's like my friend, like what's happening? And, you know, people are screaming and yelling. And so I just remember like when she first hit me, I was like, oh. And I think at the second, it might have been the second round, it like you had said, I'm like, oh shit, this is a long time. Like it
Yeah.
felt like the bell was never
You're like,
coming. Like,
excuse me,
seriously.
but,
yeah, I'm like, can we get a time check? Like,
Because
when are we
it's-
done?
This has been like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Like, did you forget? Did we start the timer? Did you go to the bathroom? Like, where is the guy to tell me that
Oh my
I'm
God,
done?
that would have been me.
Like, I think I heard a bell. She's like, bitch,
yeah, that was
no,
just
you
ringing
didn't. Yeah,
in your fucking head.
exactly. So I think that was probably just the hardest thing was just these 3 minutes of just intensity, you know,
Yeah.
just like relentless, boom, 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 time after time after time, you know,
Oh
for
my God,
3
girl,
rounds.
I don't know how you did it. I mean, we're not built, women are not built to
No,
box.
no.
Men have that kind of just that, what is that animalistic
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
high testosterone. I just
Yes.
want to kill you. You know, we don't have that.
No. And
We're like, oh, your hair looks really cute
and
today.
women too,
And
it's
I'm gonna punch you.
interesting. Right. I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna punch you. And I'm like, okay. But what's also interesting too is like I notice this a lot with the sparring is men, there is more of a I guess, controlled ego in a sense, where they do kind of want to feel you out, and there's a little bit more of a dance. Like, okay, like I am going to kind of size you up, and I'm not going to just brawl. But whenever I would spar another chick, it would be like a club brawl. Like at first, it's like you just clash together, and it's like, whoa, chick, like I thought we were going to kind of like feel each other out here. Not because I don't want to get hit, but because like I want to see what we're going to do here. Yeah. Whereas you're just like, oh shit, like you are just in it. So there would be times that I'd actually prefer to spar a guy because I could tell that there was some dance
Which makes
with
sense.
it versus just clashing and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the most intense 3 minutes of my life. Like, get me out of here.
When you were doing this, who was one of the top female boxers or MMA at that time?
So I was obsessed with both Ronda Rousey and Holly Holmes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah. And in my mind, I thought I was going to be the next one.
That's what I wanted to know. There you go. Love that fire sign ego.
In my delulu little brain, I was like, and my coach had sold me on it.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, you know, you haven't been doing this for 20 years like they have. Like, you don't have the wear and tear and like the brain damage and all the things like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah. Like, okay, I'll train. Let's do it. And so after my first fight, I started dabbling in MMA and I did a jiu-jitsu class and I was like, this is not for me. I was like, ground and pound, I don't want to do that. It's it's almost too much of a dance. You have to be too patient. You have to really see where the move is and like, okay, you're choking me, but like, I think I could get, and it's like, no. So then I just switched to Muay Thai, which I like a lot better. And I'm actually built much better for. Because to your point, being tall, I have a really good kick. I can position myself.
Well, you have the strength and the power in your legs as well.
Exactly.
Too.
Right. And so when you box, you naturally come a little bit closer. And part of boxing is like kind of doing that like hug where you can like lock them in. But when you're doing...
Explain that to people because do you know how many people don't know? They're like, why the fuck are they hugging?
I know.
I'm like, they're tired. That's my whole thing. They're tired and they're leaning on each other just to breathe for a moment.
It's true. It's a technique, and that's why they give you a couple seconds and then they'll separate you because yes, you can kind of like hug up under them and like depending on where your gloves are and stuff. It's also a good angle if you want, like if you really get them, you can like rock some body shots in there depending. But yes, it is kind of a way to close the distance. So let's say you are getting teed off in the face and you can't figure out how to protect yourself.
Run towards them and grab them around and hug them.
You're kind of like, okay, the move here then is to just close in the distance. The ref will call you and then you'll separate you.
In that moment, do you kind of like regroup, regather in your brain, literally, even though it's a couple seconds?
Hopefully, yeah. Okay. Hopefully, I mean, and if I'm sure once you get advanced enough, there's probably even some technique to that, to like, hey, I can't get this where I want it to be, so I'm going to kind of, swarm you. I'm going to think really quick while we're getting separated, and then I'm going to come back with a plan.
Right.
I wasn't, skilled enough to like devise all of those things quickly.
You were telling me a story and I was laughing my butt off when you were like, okay, she's teeing off on me. She's hitting me. For some reason, my body just wasn't moving. I remember I was like, you got to move. You got to move. But my body wasn't moving and she kept hitting me.
Yes. If you ever tell somebody to do something and they're like getting pain and they're not doing the thing, they know to stop doing it. You just can't. And that's how I felt. It's like I could hear my coaches and they were just like, this was when I think I was still sparring and they were just like screaming at me.
I remember this.
You need to move or like get your head off the center. So like, again, when you box, like you need to be able to move your head and not just stand there because it's like, oh, well, cool, you're not moving. So I'll just punch you straight in the face. So you need to move your head off the center line, like keep your shoulders, all of these things. And something had happened that day where I was just clearly fatigued as shit. And yes, I remember to the point where like, I feel like even today, like you're getting hit like a bobblehead so many times and you're like, my nose has to be broken. Is it bleeding? Like, is my, like, what is happening here? Do I have whiplash? And it's just over and over. And they're just screaming from the sideline, move your head. You need to move your head. You need to move your head. Get off the center line. You need to Ashley, move your head. And I'm just like, you don't fucking think that I want to be moving my head, dude? Like, I would love to be figuring out how to tell my body to move my head, but I can't because I just keep getting hit in the fucking face. And it's like, give me a different cue. Clearly that cue is like not working, And I just remember, I'll never forget that day when I actively remember thinking, obviously, bro, like, obviously, you think I don't know I need to move my head? Like, I'm aware. I don't know how, maybe tell me to step to the left, tell me to step to the right. Like, tell me to do something other than
just
move my head because it's not moving.
Oh my God.
And I've now been in 25 car crashes. Okay. So
funny.
like,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
it was, yeah. So there was days like that. One of my first days, I had a broomstick taped to both of my ankles. Yes.
What?
Because, and my coach trained actual UFC fighters, so he like really knew what to do.
I like how you clarified that.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
broomstick. I had a broomstick
Because
attached.
I couldn't figure out how to stop, you know, you get in your stance and then the next thing you know, your feet are right next to each other because that's just your natural stance.
Right.
And I couldn't figure out how to stay in my fighting stance.
I see. Okay.
And so he was like, you know, the next thing you know, I'd be do, and then I'd be here standing. And he's like, there, you
What
have
are you
no
doing?
power
Yeah.
there. What are you doing? So eventually he was like, you have to go on the stick. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what the hell that means. And he literally duct taped it to my ankle. So I had to stay in that position. And then now you're having no choice but to like hop around essentially.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like Mr.
Wow.
Miyagi, but like Cliff Notes version. Like it was like,
Right.
how can we teach this girl enough stuff that she doesn't go out there and completely die, but also still like kind of has fun. And yeah, it was,
Wow. And kind of still has fun.
yeah,
As her
exactly. As I'm like, and I think you had asked me this too, but the reason I stopped was because I didn't have health insurance.
Oh my God.
I ran out of health insurance and like, so I was like, you know what? Probably shouldn't be doing this as a
Maybe
hobby.
This isn't
Yeah.
the best
Maybe, yeah.
thing.
So
what you're trying to say is that your passion and it wasn't ingrained in you like at birth that you wanted to become this professional
Yes.
boxer. So when the health insurance ran
Yes.
out, you quit.
correct. When I was like, unless someone's going to sponsor me and pay for my health
Right.
insurance, I can't do
I'm
this.
surprised you actually didn't try to go out and do that. I actually did that during bodybuilding
Okay.
days. When I was a bodybuilder, I got wind of some of the girls getting sponsors and some guys would like sponsor them for shows.
Okay.
I'm like, holy shit, this is a great
cover
idea.
everything.
It's like, no, I don't want to sleep with you, but can you
Right.
actually
Yes.
pay for my
Yes.
training and my meals?
Exactly.
You know?
The first part is the caveat. They're like, no, I only want to pay for that if I get to
Right,
sleep
right,
with you.
exactly,
You're like, shoot,
yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, so that was kind of like part of it, I think. But anyway, yeah, it's really it's hard because you're paying for your coaches, you're paying for your boxing, you're paying for your meals, you're paying for all of this, and then when your health insurance runs out, I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of
It
scary
is.
because if
and
you
I was
do,
still working. Like I still
Yeah.
had a real job. You know, I'm still going to work. So yeah, there was days when it's like, hey, I can't have my body super beat up because like I was still cocktail waitressing
Yeah.
and all of that.
Yeah.
And my mom told me she thought it was so disrespectful. That's what she had said. She's
Well,
like, I just think that's so disrespectful. And I said, to who?
Well,
and she
women
said,
aren't
to me.
Yeah, women aren't supposed to be in a boxing ring. I mean, so
Right.
they say. You
So
know,
they
I mean,
say.
whatever
Exactly.
it is. But I got approached after Gladiators, and somebody was like, I want to, train you to box. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, hell no. And they're like, why? And I go, because somebody's going to hit me in the face.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, no, we train you so that nobody hits you in the face. I'm like,
That's a lie.
yeah, that's not going to happen. I know better than that.
Do you know how many times you have to get punched in the face to be trained to not get punched in the face?
Exactly. I got hit in the face one time in my life.
Okay.
One time.
With
I
what?
was in 4th grade,
Oh, shit.
and a little dude hit me in the face.
And you were like, listen.
I was sticking up for my sister. He was picking on my sister, and I was sticking up for her. And we were walking home, and obviously, you know how the mouthy goes.
course.
And all of a sudden, next thing I know, we come face to face with each other. He just wails on me, bam, punches me in the face.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, 4th grade, and I was like,
You're like, that's it.
"That's it. I'll
I'm
never
good."
get punched in the face again." That fucking hurt.
You probably just stood there like, you really just punched me.
Yes,
Like,
I was.
yeah.
I was.
that's kind of how it feels, that first punch. Like when you first get it, you're kind of like, oh,
You're stunned.
okay. And then you're like, okay, like now we engage. It's weird. It is
Hard
weird.
for
Yeah.
me. Even watching all the MMAs and
Yeah.
Holly and Rounda and all these girls coming up and again, so many people. I trained in boxing, but not to compete.
Right.
Just because I love the workout.
Yes.
And it was an intense workout.
Very intense. Yes.
And there were some other girls in the gym that were competing, and they were badasses.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh hell no.
Yes. Yeah.
There is no way I'm going to let you get in the ring with you and have you
No.
punch me.
No way.
I would die.
And that's why I started liking the switch to Muay Thai, because I felt like I had, to your point, if there's some of the chicks that like the option, like if I really wanted to go down the route of just boxing, it would have been, to your point about my height. It's great to be tall and lanky, but that means everyone I'm fighting is completely different than me because I'd have to go up in a weight class. So if let's say I would fight at 135, then that means I'm fighting girls that are probably like 5'5".
Right.
And that they'll probably walk around at like 170, 150. And so now they're cutting down 20 or 30 pounds, and I walk around at 135.
Yeah.
So then you're like, okay, so if I'm walking around at fighting weight, it became like a numbers game that you were like, and I can't really, as I got older, I'm like, oh, I can't diet down to 125.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh, this is not going to be good for me.
What you said earlier, I liked because it shows me your personality a little bit more. And that is when you said I was delusional. Well, to me, that's not delusional.
Okay.
To me, that is a confidence that you're like, fuck this. I can do whatever I want. And I'm going to be the best at that. That is a personality, a character, work ethics, whatever you want to call it. Not everybody has that. And that's why you are where you're at today.
That's a good
And that's
point.
where I'm at today because of that as well. I'm very delusional in everything I do. I'm like, it's like I'll have an idea and it's like, I already own it.
Yeah. Right.
It's like I'll get the idea and it's like, boom, I already own it. I know what I'm doing. It might not happen, but at least I have the umption, the power.
Yeah.
Just that personality that goes, fuck it, I can do whatever I want.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
And that's what I liked when you said that. I had this delusional. Yeah. That was just a confidence of you can do whatever you want.
Right.
Or you like put your mind to it and boom, you're there.
That is
not everybody has that.
No, you're right about that. And it's even interesting to hear you say that because I feel like there's parts of my life since then that I've probably wavered on that, where I'm like, maybe I've lost some of that kind of delusional confidence in myself with certain things, whether that be, starting my own business or
that's just life.
Just stuff where you're like, what happened to the girl that was like, I'm going to be the next Ronda Rousey. And they're like, okay, hi. You've been doing this for 9 months.
It doesn't matter though. You believed it.
Oh, for sure. I believed it like it was. Yes. Like I was like, oh, this will be it. And like, I'll come up and like, I'll come through the ranks and they'll be like, oh, who's this no-name girl that like hardly has any fights? And like, I totally thought that like it was going to be a thing for me. It was something that I really liked. I was good at, and you didn't need to have anybody else. And that's also what I liked, is it wasn't like, you had to be on this like team, which I think you and I are kind of similar in that like lone wolf kind of like independent.
Teams are fun.
Yes.
If you can survive on your own and have that lone wolf kind of mentality, you're going to go so much further.
Yeah.
Team is good to have behind you to cheer you on to on those low moments.
Yeah.
The low moments that you have that you're like, I don't know anymore. And they're like, no, yes, you can.
Right. And it still is a team, I still had coaches. Like I still had people that believed in me. I still had people that were clearly feeding into this delusion. They're not like, no, you can't do it. Like
I guess my question is how would you have felt if one of them said, look, here's the deal, Ashley. You're gonna have a few fights. You probably won't go too far because you're new and it takes years to become like Rhonda or Holly. But hey, if you want to have fun, let's just do this. How would you have felt?
I don't know, because I'm very competitive, so it might have triggered me to be like, fuck you, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Or it might have just been like, oh, wait, you don't, there's nothing to compete, like you're just kind of placating me, like, I don't really want to do this then. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's tough. Yeah, 20, I probably would have, I don't know, because I would have needed someone to believe in me to help me get there. So if that person who I needed to believe in me wasn't, then I might have been like, well, shoot. You
would have found someone, because I was that way. Just whether it be gladiators or whether it be opening my own business. When I opened up my own business, when I was doing my gym in Orlando, somebody's like, no, the naysayers. I was like, if anything, the biggest thing that came out with, fuck you, watch me.
Here we go.
Same thing with gladiators. My father was like, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this? And it wasn't fuck you to my dad, but it was in a way, it was like, fuck you, watch me.
Yeah.
That was always like, let me prove you wrong.
Oh, yeah.
So I think my whole life has always been, let me prove you wrong. you know, and it just kind of kept doing this as I kept moving through my life.
Yeah.
I would rather have that rather than when somebody goes, you can't do that. They go, okay.
Right.
You know, they're just defeated.
It's very interesting to me how those type of people work. Like, and the world needs both, because there are those people that as soon as you tell them they can't, they are like, watch me, I will do this tenfold, F you, you know. I think we talked about this when I went to like the inner child thing. But then you could, like a coach could tell somebody like, you're never going to amount to anything, you suck. And that person could become Tom Brady. And they're like, watch me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that same comment could be made to a different kid. And they're like, you suck today. You're never going to amount to anything. And that kid could put his tail between his legs and take that for the rest of his life and just be like, I'm never going to amount to anything. So it's so interesting, like how people's personalities, like it's the same comment. And one person is like, here we go. And the other person's like, oh my gosh, that's my whole identity. I suck.
Yeah.
Like, what makes us do that?
It is interesting because as I get older, I still have the same mentality of fuck you, watch me. I've done many projects in my life. And every project, this is it.
Right.
This is going to put me over the top. It's like going to,
this will be the one.
My career is going to go up here. I'm going to make so much money. It's going to be amazing. I've had so many of those moments that after a while, I do need someone because I'm like, yeah, I've been here before. It's just, you know, and then I become almost a little of the naysayer.
So you need like the hype squad to
I
kind
need
of
a
be
little
like,
hype squad in a way because I've tried so many fucking things.
I can imagine that riding that roller coaster,
it gets
you know,
exhausting.
you start to look at yourself and you're like, am I just crazy? Because I thought the last 10 of these was going to, you know, and you're like, should I do it again? You're like, fine, I'll buy in one more time.
I would rather be that person.
Yeah, I agree. I would too.
I would rather be that person because I love that fire underneath me. And I love feeling that fire. And that fire is what gets me through every single day and moving forward. And that's why I want to live to be 100. Just simply because I love that fire. Yeah. You know?
But that's contagious too. Think about the people that want to be around that. People want, even if I'm delusionally telling you like, I'm going to be better than Rhonda. And they're like, okay.
But when you believe it, and people you have that passion behind you, they're like, fuck yeah, I'm on her side.
Right.
Hell yeah, let's do this.
Even if you're on my side to see me fail, like you're still on the bandwagon. Yeah. So whether you're here to watch me fall or to watch me rise, like you're still part of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't obviously become a professional mixed martial arts.
But I'm sure that you learned so many lessons and you learned so much from it that it's almost invaluable. All the life lessons you've learned and how you felt about the whole experience.
Totally.
I mean,
even if you break that down from a sports specific thing to where it's like, hey, I know that I've done hard things. I mean, you know, if I can survive this or if I can do this or if I can manage that, then I'm like, okay, I can handle this workout. Or to your point about just the commitment that you have to make, the showing up when you don't feel, you know, all of those things, they wrap into so many areas of your life that aren't just that one specific sport or job or talent or anything.
So I don't know. I always say that, you know, when things come your way, just, you know, 100% go for it.
Yeah.
You know, if that's something you're passionate about, just go for it. Right. Do it. Find a way to do it.
When I first did it, I was like embarrassed, I think, to tell people that I had lost my first fight. And then I wasn't sure if I was going to take another one. And I remember one of my coaches who I actually was dating at the time, he was like, do you know how many, he's like, I don't care who asks you, like 90%, probably higher, 95% will say of people would never step in a ring in front of their peers. And this isn't in like...
And you're putting yourself out there.
Correct.
You are being extremely vulnerable. This isn't like,
hey, we're going to the YMCA where these people are here because they really appreciate boxing or they appreciate the sport. This is like a bunch of your drunk friends from your industry have packed into here basically to watch two people beat the shit out of each other. And so he was like, I don't care who asks you. Like, you proudly tell them that because he's like, nobody would be, I mean, clearly the chick you were supposed to fight couldn't even do it. Like she backed out. And I was like, you know what? That's a good point. Like, so now sometimes people are like, oh, well, did you win? I want to be like, dude, doesn't matter. Because I bet your ass wouldn't get in there and do it. You wouldn't have trained like that. You wouldn't let somebody beat you up. You wouldn't put yourself in the position to lose and then to be like, yeah, okay, my hand didn't get raised. Like, And even that is a lesson right there where you're like, you're not going to win everything. And sometimes you got to sign up for the things that you are the underdog in.
Right.
Knowing that you probably will come out still the underdog.
Okay, so we got a couple minutes left. Speaking of that, and let's hit this point really quick, and that is, on that point, right now, how everybody's just getting participation trophies. I don't believe in that.
Same.
I don't believe in the all-inclusive as far as like, hey, we had a baseball game and you
Everyone's
lost
an
20-0, but everybody's going to get a participation trophy. No, that's not life. We lose.
We lose.
Sometimes
hard
win. Sometimes yes.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in that. And I don't believe that it's the right thing to do as far as like putting the kids on the path. You know, I did watch a movie to where I forgot the name of it. And I don't know, Jeff, if you remember it or not, but that was like the coach came in and started ripping the trophies away from the kids. Yes. No, you don't get one. And no, you don't deserve that. You played like shit.
That needs to be happening.
Yes, it does.
It's funny you say that because just the other day, one of my girlfriends was talking about something with one of her daughters. Now, again, Lori and I don't have kids, but we still are people who are athletes who have lived and walked the walk.
If I had kids, it'd still be the same.
Correct. And she was telling me something. I don't even know what the sport was with her daughter. And she was like, yeah, she's like, well, we have, we were in a group text. And one of the moms was like, yeah, but don't worry, like everybody gets a trophy. And the other mom was like, no, not actually, like not here. And I was like, thank God. Because yes, like I think that participation trophy thing and it's like, we don't need to be shaming the kids. And like, we do need to teach good sportsmanship. But like, to your point that you said, we lose. You can't just go into your work and be like, well, I was up for a promotion and like, I didn't get it. Like, I just thought everybody no, like you didn't meet the standards. You didn't you didn't save enough money. You didn't do your job. Like whatever it is. But all these kids are coming up, I feel like, in this generation of just, good
They're
job.
soft.
You
They're
can
gonna be
do this.
soft.
Or like, oh, don't hit her because it like,
Yeah.
no, you got hit in the face because you stole my toy. And like, I'm going to hit you. Like those are like sandbox rule 101. Like
Ashley has kids and she's like, beat the shit out of me. You stole your toy.
I'm like, good job, babe. Good job.
But it's true. And that's why I think kids, like when they started taking sports out of schools and everything, I was like, that was the worst thing they could possibly ever do. Kids need to learn how to play together. They need to learn how to play separately. They need to learn how to lose.
For sure.
You know, and they need to learn how to win and be a good winner.
Yes.
A gracious winner.
Yes. I think that's also probably maybe even a harder thing to teach somebody is like, hey, you don't get to just be boastful and rub this in your friend's face and like wear this thing for 6 weeks. But also, I think you mentioned them taking away sports. Like some of that is like playground etiquette, PE, recess time. Like when that stuff gets diminished, like that is a whole, we're going off now, but like that's a whole like hierarchy system that I think has to be learned. And with kids, especially during COVID, not going to school, not being able to play outside, like a lot more kids are being homeschooled now. Like you're losing.
Do you realize why a lot of these kids are being homeschooled, which is blowing my mind?
Tell me.
They're being bullied. Buck up, buttercup.
Wait,
I know a family that both kids have been homeschooled because one got bullied. And that was not cool. And I was just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Okay, come on. That's a little much for me. And I understand the whole bullying. Don't get me wrong. I understand the whole bullying, but the whole bullying thing has also got way out of hand.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say this, but April's son, skinny little dude, and I think he was like 12 or 13 at the time. He was getting bullied at school. He punched the kid in the face.
Okay.
He almost got expelled, for fighting back. But you know what it did? A, it gave Kai confidence.
Okay.
B, the kid never bullied him again.
Okay.
Ever.
Okay.
So I'm not saying go around punching the people in the
sure.
face. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the whole bullying thing got so out of hand, and they weren't bulliers weren't being disciplined by the school because they couldn't do anything.
Right.
I mean, this, like you said, the whole hierarchy was just a mess.
Yes.
You know, so the bullying, they got, the parent wouldn't do anything because they probably weren't even around.
Right.
The school couldn't do anything. It just became a mess. But the little kid that's being bullied, sometimes you do have to stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
You do.
You do.
This is life.
You're
going to be bullied. You're going to be bullied at work. You're going to be bullied everywhere you go if you don't start having that confidence and stand up for yourself.
Right. Yes.
But instead, they just pull them right out of school and they isolate them.
Right.
Then what happens when they become teenagers and in their 20s?
Right.
What happens when somebody bullies them then?
Right. They've got no social cues.
None.
Cues. They haven't had to navigate that. They haven't. Yeah. I mean, again, I think obviously I don't think like bullying is acceptable at all. But I think that when you remove somebody from a situation, it doesn't allow them to then navigate that situation. So we'll just, say that, like, obviously, let's just say like the bullying is safe. Like no one's saying like, okay, I'm going to like kill you or like crazy stuff.
Right.
But
right.
yeah, I think that when you have to have some conflict resolution. Like, okay, hey, you got bullied, or hey, you're the bullier. Like, we need to figure this out, not just, and vice versa. Like, let's say the bully got homeschooled. Okay, well, it's not teaching the bully anything other than I'm just continuing to almost be in this more powerful position. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Maybe that bully became a boxer later.
Maybe. Maybe I was bullied. Maybe I was bullied. I don't know. I don't think I was. And I don't think I did any bullying. I definitely don't think I did any bullying. I was like friends with everyone.
I don't think so.
But yeah, it's an interesting kids.
That was
That's like a
cool,
whole
though,
nother
your
one.
stories about boxing. I
Yeah.
had no idea.
I definitely like, it's something I miss, and we can leave it on this. I miss it because it's a hard thing to find somebody else to do it with.
Yeah.
You could be 40 or 50 and still like, go play some volleyball or kick a soccer ball around or golf or even be like in a men's or women's, t-ball league or something.
Okay, I feel I could go back and do gladiators tomorrow.
Right.
But I would never step in the ring with you ever. Ever. I mean, no shit. I mean, I find it fascinating. I
Yeah.
find boxing a thing. But the minute that you landed one on me,
Yeah.
I'd be like, I quit. You'd be like, Lori.
I'd be like,
what the fuck?
Gary, come
I'd be like-
back here.
I'd be like,
What
nope.
I want to see is
Nope.
Ashley Randall versus Jake Paul.
oh my gosh. Well, Jake Paul would murder me.
That's crazy.
He would absolutely. But yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't do that with you.
No.
And it's hard. You can't just jump in a ring.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, you want to spar today?
Correct. We'll wrap this up with the bully thing. I have jumped around to some other like boxing gyms, when I moved to Colorado and stuff. And there is a little bit of that. I don't know what the word is, but like they do kind of want to like size you up, where you're like, hey, I'm the new girl. And they're like, oh, okay, new girl. Why don't you come on in the ring here?
Ego.
And then you're like, dude, I'm not trying to have you tee off on my face. Like, this is just something
Right.
that I used to do, this and this. And yeah, but then, you catch them with a good one and they're like, oh, this bitch really knows how to throw a punch then. You're like, well, just give me a second. Like,
Right.
So it is something that I miss because it's hard to find just a recreational outlet that you can
like
just
tennis.
box. Yeah.
You can't play tennis by
You
yourself.
can't be like, hey, Lori, do you want to like play some tennis this week?
I wish I could.
I'm like, hey, Lori, do you want to like get in the ring and let me punch you a couple times this week? Like, you're like, no, I'm
I
good.
know you
Thank
want
you."
to once in a while, but I mean, for fun, no.
Yeah.
She's like, that's it. This is how we're going to take out our differences.
like,
Let's get in the ring.
Fine. Fine. I'll just go play with myself, I guess. No, hit a bag. Nothing fun there. Yeah.
All right. We're done with Ashley and her boxing career.
Yeah. I did it.
But actually, it's all empowerment.
It is. It was. It was very empowering. Yeah.
So
Very,
go
very
do
empowering.
whatever you want to do.
Whatever you want.
This is it. We're out.
We're out.
See you next week.
Mic drop.